Cunningham's cuddle demand to Caitlin Clark fuels Fever reunion buzz.
Sophie Cunningham just dropped a throwback clip with Caitlin Clark, and Clark's three-word comeback has the entire WNBA buzzing. Sophie fired back with playful talk about cuddles and dinner plans. But beneath all the joking sits a massive decision the Indiana Fever can't avoid. With the expansion draft coming up and free agency frozen in limbo, this situation is way messier than it looks.
And the Fever fans want nothing more than for their team to bring Sophie Cunningham back in free agency this winter, whenever the WNBA league office and its players agree to a new CBA. Of course, Cunningham isn't the only member of the Indiana 2025 team that fans are clamoring to bring back, as Kelsey Mitchell is just as beloved among the fan base. But while Mitchell might make more of an impact on the court compared to Cunningham, the latter's off-court charisma and star power have endeared her to the Fever fan base to an impressive.
Here's the real question. Should the Indiana Fever use one of their expansion draft protection slots on Sophie Cunningham, even if it means exposing another key player? Let me know your take in the comments, because this decision is way bigger than it looks. So here's what went down. Sophie posted a throwback clip on Instagram showing her and Caitlin Clark sharing a quick connection moment from last season. Nothing dramatic, just two teammates who clearly clicked on the floor. But then Caitlin responded with 3 words that sent Fever fans into a frenzy. Time to run it back. That's it. 3 words. But with free agency frozen, the CBA locked up, and expansion drafts looming, those 3 words hit way harder than casual Instagram banter. Then Sophie fired back with an even funnier reply. Only if you cuddle and make me dinner twice a week. Pure teammate humor, nothing more. But underneath the jokes is the real headline. Caitlin Clark wants Sophie Cunningham back in Indiana, and Sophie wants to return. Before we break down what that means for the Fever's roster, we have to address the chaos in the comments. Someone actually asked if Caitlin Clark had ever been unfaithful to her boyfriend Connor, all because 2 teammates joked around online. This is the kind of exhausting nonsense that constantly derails real WNBA coverage. 2 women can't even have normal friendly banter without a corner of the internet turning it into fake drama. For the record, Caitlin Clark is committed to Connor McCaffrey. Sophie Cunningham is straight. They're friends, former teammates, having fun. That's the entire story. Let's get back to basketball. And here's the basketball part that actually matters. Sophie Cunningham was the 2nd most searched female athlete in the entire United States in 2024, according to Google's year-end data. Not 2nd in the WNBA, 2nd among all female athletes. She hosts a podcast with The Volume, appears on major media shows regularly, and has built a fan base that stretches far beyond traditional basketball viewers.
She was also the only player in the entire league that we sat back and witnessed literally physically defend Caitlin Clark on the court. Just keeping it real. Watched a lot of other teammates just stand around while Sophie trying to scrap.
And here's the wild part. Sophie Cunningham was in Indiana for 1 single season. Just 1. Yet in only 12 months with the Fever, she became the 2nd most Googled female athlete in the entire country. Let that sink in. That's not just her personality or her podcast carrying the weight. That's the kind of spotlight you get when you share the floor and the headings with Caitlin Clark. But now Indiana has a real problem on its hands. With Portland and Toronto entering the league, the expansion draft is about to shake every roster. And because of how expansion drafts work, the Fever can only protect 5 or 6 players, max. That's it. No exceptions. Everyone else is exposed and can be taken. So the question becomes, does Sophie Cunningham make that protected list, or does Indiana risk losing one of Caitlin Clark's favorite teammates after just 1 season?
Indiana doesn't necessarily have to choose when it comes to getting Cunningham or Mitchell. Both players have expressed interest in returning. The Fever's front office will have enough money and flexibility to re-sign them both if they...
Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Lexi Hull, and Nalissa Smith are absolute locks to be protected. That's 4 spots gone immediately, which leaves Indiana with maybe 1, maybe 2 protection slots for the rest of the roster. And this is where things get messy fast. Kelsey Mitchell and Sophie Cunningham are both unrestricted free agents who have publicly said they want to stay in Indiana. The good news? The Fever don't have to choose. They have the cap space and roster room to bring both of them back if that's what they want to do. But here's the problem. If Indiana re-signs both players before the expansion draft, they're required to protect them, which eats up their remaining protection slots instantly. That could force the Fever to leave other important pieces exposed. So let's walk through what happens if Sophie goes unprotected because Indiana can't, or won't, use one of those last spots on her. Portland and Toronto are brand new franchises. They need players who sell tickets, who spark excitement, who drive immediate attention. And Sophie Cunningham checks every box. She's a dependable rotation player and she brings real star power, media pull, and name recognition. If she's left exposed in the expansion draft, she's gone. No debate. She'd be one of the first players picked, maybe even the first overall, because new teams need someone who can show up on local media, build a following, and create instant buzz. After Caitlin Clark just redefined what star power looks like in this league, expansion teams understand better than ever. You don't just need talent. You need personality, visibility, and a fan base. Sophie brings all three. But here's the part the analytics don't show. Go back to last season. Watch the film. Every time Caitlin Clark got fouled hard, shoved, knocked to the floor, every time opponents tried to rough up the league's biggest draw, who was the Fever player stepping in? Who was the one actually protecting the franchise star physically? It wasn't a big. It wasn't a veteran. It was Sophie Cunningham. Sophie Cunningham was the one teammate who consistently stepped up for Caitlin Clark. Not after the game, not in a press conference, in real time, on the floor, when things got heated. She didn't just talk about protecting Clark, she actually did it. That kind of locker room presence doesn't show up in any box score, but it matters more than people realize. Yes, other Fever players put up better numbers than Sophie last season. No, none of them brought that energy, the willingness to stand between Clark and whoever was trying to take a cheap shot. And let's be honest, Caitlin Clark is going to keep getting targeted. She's the face of the league. Opponents are going to test her. Having someone who will immediately have her back is not optional. It's essential. Now let's talk about Kelsey Mitchell, because she's a massive part of this equation. Mitchell averaged 17 points per game and has been Indiana's most consistent scorer for years. From a pure basketball perspective, she's the obvious priority. But here's the dilemma. If Indiana can only protect one of their unrestricted free agents in the expansion draft, the basketball choice and the business choice may not be the same choice.